A wood router is a necessary shop tool, but they can be awkward to work with when you have to freehand your projects. There's a better way, and it doesn't have to be expensive. In this project, we're turning any ordinary table into a multi-purpose workbench with a built-in flush mount router station. For this project, we're going to need a wood router. I found this one on my local classifieds. And we're going to need a square foot of plexiglass or acrylic like this. This piece is 1/4 inch thick, it's crystal clear, and only costs $5 from a local plastics company. Let's get started by choosing a good spot on the table, then tracing the edges of the square with a pencil or a pen. You can see I've put a 1/2 inch straight bit into the chuck of this router, and now if we measure from the edge of the blade to the side of the sub base, the distance is 2 5/8 of an inch. I use that measurement to cut a piece of wood that matches perfectly flush with the side. Okay, now we can go ahead and use our piece of wood as a measuring tool to draw a border around the outside of the square. Next we'll need to draw an inner square about 1 1/4 inches smaller than the first one. I decided to angle the corners for aesthetics and support, and now all the markings and measurements look like this. Alright, it's time to cut ourselves a hole. Let's start by using a large drill bit to make holes on the inner sides of the angled lines. This way we can insert the jigsaw blade and begin cutting right away. The goal here is to cut each line as straight as possible, and when we make it back to the starting point, the center piece should fall right out. Now we still need this plastic plate to sink down flush with the top of the table, and we'll be able to do that with the help of 8 concrete paving stones. The concrete squares need to line up perfectly with the outside edges of the outer square, and when they're all aligned, it's time for the action. Let's use the plastic plate to gauge the cutting depth, and we can do that by adjusting the height of the sub base until the tip of the bit is flush with the top of the plate. Now when we turn on the router and rest the base flat on the table, it should be cutting down to the exact depth of the plastic mounting plate. You can see that as we move along in a clockwise direction, the concrete blocks prevent the side of the router from going out of bounds. This helps keep the cuts clean and straight and in line with the markings we made around the plate. Now that we've cut the outer boundary, we can freehand the router back and forth until the inner bits are profiled down as well. Then finish up by sanding the new surface smooth. Now if you look at the corners, you might notice they're a bit rounded. So let's just grind a little bit of plastic off the corners of the plate to match the curves, and now you can see that the plate will drop straight in and sit flush with the top of the table. Okay, it's time to mount the plate to the router base. There are 3 screws holding the base plate on, and when those are removed, it comes off very easily. If we center it on our square, we can use it as a template to mark the position of the screw holes, then drill them out with a 7/32 inch drill bit. Now I tried taking a little off the top with a 3/8 inch drill bit and ended up with a countersink effect. You can see that when the screws are set back in, they sit flush with the top, but don't catch on anything sliding over them. The next step is to drill a hole in the center with a 1 1/2 inch Forstner bit, then make 2 more holes in line with the center using a 7/8 inch bit. These 2 holes will give us handles to remove and replace the router at will. Let's go ahead and remove the protective paper now, then line the plate up on the router where the sub base used to sit. The original screws can be returned to secure the new plate in place, and you can see the plastic is more than strong enough to support the weight of the router. I added a couple of beams underneath to reinforce the tabletop and prevent it from sagging over time. For a nice finishing touch, let's try cutting a piece of black construction paper to make a decorative lining for our new router station. At this point, our router table is completely finished and ready for operation. For our first project, why don't we try routing the edges of our new table with this 3/4 inch beating bit. You'll notice that even with the custom mounting plate, the router is still completely portable for any projects you need to router by hand. The extra surface area of the plate actually keeps the unit more stable and helps ensure the cut lines are as straight as they can be. Now just for fun, I gave my table a paint job, so when the router sets in place, the whole thing has got a clean, professional look to it. I also rigged up a switch box for electrical power that will give us the option of turning on a backlight and starting up the router from a safer distance. Now one of the things I like best about this design is that the bit can be fully retracted when we don't need it. This means we still have full access to the entire work table, and that can be very helpful for projects like the rocket rifle that we made in a previous project. And because the system is so easy to remove and replace, changing out router bits is simple as well. Well, now you know how to add a professional looking flush mount router station to any work table. So go ahead and make a picture frame, put finishing touches on experimental projects, or make some puzzles for entertaining friends, because now you can. And that's it for now. If you like this project, perhaps you like some of my others. Check them out at thekingofrandom.com. Before you go, please take a second to click the link in the description for audible.com/thekingofrandom. They're big supporters of these videos and are once again offering you King of Random fans a free audiobook when you sign up for their service. They have bestsellers like You Are Now Less Dumb, where David McRaney explains 15 different ways that you might be fooling yourself every day. Wouldn't you like to know? If that's not your style, they have over 150,000 other titles, so chances are you'll find one that's perfect for you. So why not take a second to look around audible.com/thekingofrandom. It really helps support these videos, and you might just find that you love what they've got.